ride out. This is for the confusion out there, okay? Sit back and relax.
The eyes of the world have been glued to the city of Haran for the past 2 months, following the outbreak of a previously unknown pathogen.
It is not yet clear what has caused this gruesome affliction. The local government's Ministry of Defense erected a quarantine wall shortly after the outbreak.
The global relief effort's steady stream of supply drops has sustained what few survivors remain in the city. The Ministry of Defense believes more radical action should be taken to stem the tide of this virus.
The question is, are there still non-infected survivors in the city as the GRE maintains? And if so, will the ministry still go through with a stated plan to annihilate the city in an attempt to wipe out the Haran virus once and for all?
Whether by way of the virus or the ministry's proposed plan, one thing is certain. Haran's days are numbered.
Are you still confused, people? I think we have a zombie apocalypse within the gaming industry. People who don't use their brains. And that's the sad part about this generation and last generation as well. It's just you have a lot of people who speculate on things. And today, you know, it's just going to be a beautiful thing, right? It's going to be a beautiful thing because I get to speak on some truths. And this, like I said, man, this is what Di-RREC Gaming is about. It's too easy, right? We don't sit around here and do the normal. We're not going to sit on here and cry on our show. We don't get emotional when we do this stuff. This is what we do, man. This is what we do. I mean, it feels good. You know, it feels good. And turn this stuff down because I have a notorious guest on the show tonight, you know, and we're gonna get busy. All this stuff going on. I know, you know. Hey, man, it's your boy, right? It's your boy, the new legal. And you know, I see what's going on, and that's the beautiful thing. You know, we're gonna get down to it. You know, here we're gonna get down to it, and that's the beautiful thing about it, right? I'm going to continue this great game. I used to play it. And this is in honor of the new Dying Light that's going to be coming out. Next generation. I figured, you know what? This one represents the state of the gaming industry as a whole. Right now, once again, Xbox is in the news. And it's in the greater of the news, right? It's always finding itself in the greatness of the news. And right now, it's all about 30 frames per second. As if 30 frames per second is such horrible news to casuals. As if any casual out there really, really knows anything about 60 frames per second. And listen, it is possible for a casual to know about 60 frames per second. But is it really, 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 really truthful to say that if you are a PlayStation fan and have been a diehard PlayStation fan, that you truly know what 60 frames per second gaming is all about? Sadly, the truth is, you don't. There isn't a limit of games in the history of the Sony PlayStation franchise that has delivered to you 60 frames per second. There isn't a lineage. But for some reason, we get more hatred for a third-party game. A third-party game. But that's where the fun part's at. It's that third-party game, right? And we know that a game as Assassin's Creed, since the origins, has been about this vastly great, big open world with so much to do in it. And it's beautiful, and it's vast, and it's full of details. And, you know, let's go back to first grade, right? It's sad, but we got to do this. We got to do this. So we know that the days of old, right? Because we literally believe that we moving backwards. And like I said, I got my guest here. And I ain't even got
That's funny.
that's right. His laughing is a proper introduction to him. And look, I'm gonna give him a proper introduction. But he has every right to laugh because we're talking about going backwards, right, people? We're saying next generation, but we're thinking that either we're going to stay the same or we're just gonna steadily move backwards. And I know y'all saying, "Dang, Legal, you're staying on the menu board." Don't pay attention to that right now. Stay confused because right now in the confusion of those that you have to speak this certain language, right, in the Xbox streets. Only real Xbox fans understand Xbox language. You can't be about articles. You can't be about the he say, she say. You gotta be about what Xbox brings to the table. You gotta understand that. Now, one thing's for sure. Xbox is gonna have some games this year. And what's funny is if you've done your research from what's been shown to you lately, all those games that Microsoft showed, except a couple, were all small developing teams, and they were all new to the stage. And what's funny is Microsoft has been traveling around, going to these studios, checking them out, and they seeing hunger. Okay, so not only has Microsoft said, okay, we got new IPs in the wrap, but there was a video that I did not too long ago stating that new IPs are great. Xbox needs new IPs, but we also need games that continue in their great line of sequels. There's nothing wrong with having games that carry on great sequels, new sequels, and new games as well. We missed out on Rise Son of Rome. We missed out on Sunset Overdrive. We missed out on Quantum Break. We missed out on Recore. All four of those games, in my opinion, deserve proper sequels. They never got a chance, and with their great potential, to showcase what they could have been, right? What they could have been. But because of the politics, because of the price gouging and the lack thereof of popularity, games suffer, unfortunately. And then just when we thought, oh, it's because of these games, my man T Reaper, he gets his proper introduction now. Because of these games, and they have to suffer, T Reaper, we find out later on in the years that developers were actually suffering. And Microsoft made a memo out and said, you know, we come out here and we find out that devs are hurting. They're hurting out here. They're not in good standings. They're doing everything they can to make it. And it's sad because the way the industry is going, it's in a suffocating position. They are scared to put out stuff. They get ridiculed, they get laughed at, they get made fun of, and they're taking all this time to make these games. Some devs, hey, are snobbish at some times, and I would say deserve some kind of backlash in some way, shape, or form. But the overall positivity in these gaming streets is very low, and the standard is set real low. And it's more fun now to make fun of devs and make fun of their products than it is to clap for them and say, hey, we expect a little bit better, but if this is the best you can do, and if this game performs right, listen, we'll support it, we'll check it out, and we'll be sincere about it. When you show devs that you're mature, that you're able to play these games and have fun, they're not afraid to put out games. They're not afraid to take risk. They're not afraid to, go on agendas and get sold out. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's going on. You see a lot of sellout going on. You see a lot of devs leaving studios. You don't see happy people. This facts. In the last 2 years, we ain't seen a lot of happy people. And then this Xbox Series X comes out. And lo and behold, because the Xbox community praises it, those that oppose T Reaper have been sitting, waiting so patiently in their trash cans, like Oscar the Grouch, waiting for any news, T Reaper, to be negative. And now, more than ever, they got their day. And their day is 30 frames per second. We're talking about 30 frames per second. T Reaper, ladies and gentlemen, is here tonight. T Reaper, here's a golden mic.
All
Please
right. Thank you
elaborate.
so thank you so All right. Thank you so much, Legal. All right. Well, I want to thank you first for having me on. And shout out to everybody. This is getting way too much fun for me not to do this all in 1 week straight. You should see what my Nas trash collection looks like. Oh my god. Shout out to Monster. That's actually really good drink. But all right. So it says 30 frames at the least. What does that imply, everybody? If it says 30 frames at the least and not highest, what does that imply? Means they don't know the highest frame it actually goes on anything. It just knows the lowest. So you're whining and complaining about the lowest actual denominator, which is mad stupid. Shouldn't you be arguing about the highest?
I mean, that's what it says. So now they're going to tell you that that's not what it means. Hey, man, that's what it says.
No, the lowest it means is basically the lowest model of what is coming next can run it at 30. Then the mid runs it at 60, and it sounds, if it's going to run on 60 on PC, since someone told me that, that sounds like it's going to be the new standard, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like it, but you know, hey, man, it's laughable right now because you know why, T Reaper? You can't prove it, and because you can't prove it, T Reaper, how dare you sit up here and say such things like that? Because if PlayStation can't do it, nobody else deserves to do it. And see, hey man, the PC community always gets a what? Pass. Because it's PC. We can't mess with PC because it's PC. But we sure can make fun of Xbox. Fun of Xbox. And until Xbox shows us otherwise, we're gonna keep making fun of it. But here's the thing, T Reaper. That's a lie, right? Because once this gets proven right, they're gonna find something else. And they're gonna find something else. And they're gonna find something else, T Reaper, until they can't find anything else. And the day haters can no longer find anything else about Xbox is a sad day for them. Because that's really their truest form of gaming, bro. Their truest form of gaming is hating the Xbox brand. They don't do nothing else, bro. I mean, you look at their gaming experience. Look at their games, bro. Their walk along, hold your hand, soap opera games, bro. Like I've been saying. Look at their templates. If you think that they don't get bored, at some point you gotta say if it's okay for them to be like, you know what, this is the best game ever. It's Gotti. Every game they say Gotti, go look at it. It's the same type of game. Like, seriously. And they don't get bored about it because it doesn't challenge them to change. It doesn't challenge them. It's not daring. It does nothing. Does nothing for their gaming experience. It's the same experience. So therefore, if they don't have to feel like they have to change it, it's comfortable to them.
Yeah, but if they keep buying it, obviously it's comfortable to somebody enough to keep doing it, right?
Yeah, at 30 frames per second, T Reaper is something that they're used to. So you start talking about 60 frames per second, they really don't know what you're talking about because they don't really have a true experience of that. Their true experience is 14 frames per second to 24 frames per second, pushing overclocking to 30 frames per second if they can get a stable 30 frames per second on any game. When it's a stable 30 frames per second on their PlayStation games, that's a feat. That is something worth jumping up and down for. But 30 frames per second on an Xbox game within the community is not really a big deal. We'll play it, but we're not going to even act like it's the best thing going, nor are we going to sit up here and justify why it feels so lame to us. Like the Xbox gamer is at a point where we're just ready for something different. That's the way we are. We don't settle for the same type of experience. We never have. And that's what makes the Xbox brand great. So with this news coming out, and you touched on it about saying the minimum, you're going to keep talking about that one, brother, because that's the thing that I said. I said, are y'all even listening to what's being said? What's being said is minimum. So if it's running minimum 30 frames per second, does that mean that's the highest? Minimum now means highest? Is that what that means, T Reaper? Minimum means highest now. That's
Yeah,
all
I mean that sounds like that sounds like perfect logic right there.
that's perfect logic.
I mean, yeah, I mean, why can go low, go high? But
Oh, I got you.
it's just
I
kind of
got you.
funny to me. It's just gotta go go low to go high.
Right.
It doesn't really honestly matter, as long as
Right.
you enjoy, have fun, and the reason why 30, 60, 120 exists is for different types of game styles. It has
Right.
nothing whatsoever to do with what your fans want. It has to do with how the
Right.
game is designed to be played smoothly and effectively
So
to the
you're
best of its
saying
actual graphical
uh,
ability.
so what you're saying, T Reaper, is that usually, the model, let's
Performance.
just put the model performance for an open big world and a game such as Assassin's Creed, for it to be as big and as open as it is, the model of performance for that with a push of such fidelity would be a 30 frames per second. A 30 frames per second would literally be normal. A locked 30
Hmm.
frames per second would be outstanding, and what shall I say, um, an uncapped frame rate would be spectacular. Because
Yes, it would.
if indeed you get a 60 frames per second on such things like that, then it's a developer's decision to either take a little bit off of the visuals, and but you know what, T Reaper, even though that might be true, that's just not moving forward. So this whole
No, it's
thing
not.
about moving forward just doesn't resonate with that logic anymore, because that's really the old way about it, right? It's always been about what the GPU couldn't do for the CPU, or what the CPU couldn't do for the GPU.
Yeah,
But this
and that's why it was
Xbox,
so. But that's why.
right,
But that's why it's so complicated to build these, enclosed machines or, you know, restricted machines, not open network, whatever you want to refer to them as. But
right,
these things, require two things, whereas, before it wasn't, wasn't that hard because it was rather simple. But to cut everything off and just to make it, not blow up inside a, enclosed space is rather hard, especially for something that you wanted to do in such a low minimum amount of space inside the box. They have to find airflow. You got to find your cooling system, people. Um, you got to find your, right CPU and GPU that doesn't overheat and create red rings of death.
right.
Uh, a lot, it's a lot more complicated than people think, and especially on the Sony side, where it's always been about the hardware drive of gaming experience and not software, where it's in reverse for Microsoft and
Right.
the Windows applications in general.
So,
But imagine if you had a machine that only had to run halfway, whereas the other machine has to work double time to work the same way.
right, which is not the case for the Xbox Series X. Um, I don't
Nope.
know if people really don't understand how the Xbox Series X works and its capabilities. I don't think people really believe in it. I think that's what the real issue here is. That's why it's so easy for
Well,
them to sit up here and say, "You thought this console could run 60 frames per second on any game, but now it looks like 30 frames per second is going to be another standard." You get people to say stupid stuff like that, right? But they don't really believe what
yeah,
they
but
say. It's
it's
just
still the low. It's still the minimum standard. It's not the highest standard.
right now, exactly. That's been confirmed. That right there has been said. So as many times that T Reaper is gonna say that tonight, I truly hope that somebody gets it. I truly hope that there's a gamer out there that really, really starts to see the light and really starts to understand what's being told. Because listen, sometimes companies just want you to use your brain a little bit. They may not always want to tell you everything and want you to think. Want you to do a little research. And while we're at it, T Reaper, um, I'm gonna elaborate on something. I'm gonna bring some little teaching. Let's go to school. Let's go to school, okay? Let's go to school. Because there's nothing wrong with going to school and learning things. When we learn things,
No,
we
but
learn
you know,
things and
if
we
you wish
become
to learn,
smarter.
yeah, but you want to make sure you're still the things that you need and want to learn, rather than just useless information that does nothing for you.
Facts. So, let me throw out, well, I'm guilty of this, okay? So I'm gonna throw out some useful non well, trashy. There's useful trashy information, okay? Let's just put it like that. And I'm gonna put this trashy information out here. And whoever thinks that, this trashy information is, something worth digging into the trash can about and looking it up for themselves, well then, hey man, we did something right tonight. But if you're one of those people who just think, hey, trashy information is something worth not looking up, then man, I'm sorry. You just choose. And listen, being dumb and stupid is a choice. It is not something that is just that you can be stuck in. It is actually a choice, and that's a good thing. So I just want to let me just elaborate on this. Does anybody have HDMI 2.1 on their TVs? Is anybody using that right now? I doubt it. And and do they not understand what this 2.1 is capable of? Um, let's just talk about it, okay? HDMI 2.1, the future of TV cable technology. If you're dreaming about future, you're playing Halo Infinite 2, right? In space in the year 2028 on your Xbox Series X. And you'll need a TV with HDMI 2.1 ports. Why is this? Because if you're thinking about the future, right? You're going to want to experience this game, like T Reaper was saying, at its highest ability. You want to experience it at its highest, not its minimum, but at its highest ability. And with this highest ability, playing Halo Infinite 2, okay? Halo Infinite 2 in space year 2028 on Xbox Series X, you'll need a TV with HDMI 2.1 ports. This format supports 8K resolution up to 120 hertz, and there are claims it can even support 10K. Now hold on, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that a simple HDMI cable can get you 120 hertz? A cable. We weren't talking about a TV. It says cable. Now, of course, your TV would have to have that function, but
You need that port in. You need that
you
port in
need
the
that port.
television.
You have to have it in that television port. You have to have it in there. So, now that it said this, check this out. However, unless you bought your TV in the last year, it's unlikely your set has HDMI 2.1 slots. Not that HDMI 2.0 cables are in any way obsolete. While HDMI 2.0 doesn't support 8K, what? 60 frames. Now, did you hear me? Not that HDMI 2.0 are in any way obsolete, while HDMI 2.0 doesn't support 8K60. So if you don't have HDMI 2.1, there is no way that you can support 8K60 frames. That puts you out of the future. Let's just get that clear. Out of the future. Where are you going with this, legal? Oh, where are you going with this? Sit down, chappy boy. Sit down and shut up. I'm going to tell you. Learn something. It can run the resolution at 30 frames per second. Now that is minimum. So, people, here's a hint. If you're not able to invest in the newer TVs with an HDMI 2.1 tech involvement in it, you will be left in the dust at a 30 frames per second minimum standby. And basically, you don't need to replace your current 4K telly to enjoy Series X. So it's saying, hey, you can still buy the Series X, but just don't expect to hit the high end aspects of Series X. Expect the low ends. You will not be able to perform anything above 60 frames per second because your ports won't allow that. It won't allow that high end hertz to be supported. Okay, it won't support that high end visual for that fidelity. It won't support it. Now, give or take, you're gonna probably get a 4K 60 on it. Give or take the game. But we're talking about steady, steady. And what do you mean illegal? You just contradicted yourself. Oh, did I? Okay. This is called the Hertz locker. Hertz. T Reaper, you know all about variable refresh rates. You know
Yes.
a little bit
So,
about
all
Hertz.
right. Yes. All right.
T Reaper,
So,
you
yes,
even know a little bit about PC.
I love your lecture. That is actually very educational. I even learned a little bit about something like that. Yes, so everything that these wonderful models and these wonderful devices we call electronics, how they work depends on what kind of equipment you put on them.
Facts.
So if you have your HDMI 2.1 on your television, you get the HDMI 2.1 experience. Concept applies to a 2.1 or a 2.0 or the wonderful 1080p, 720p, so on and so forth.
Facts.
And then your refresh rate is most likely going to be applied both by your television's wonderful maximum standard of how high it can go, and that means you have to look at the wonderful television you wish to buy to fit your system. So wonderful, watch that refresh rate depending on the size of the television screen and the brand itself.
Facts.
And then your this is the other thing that I love when people complain about, but they don't understand how this works. So if you complain about servers taking forever to load, unless there is an issue with the network at the time of your complaint, you need to upgrade your internet. And I'm so tired of sick and tired of people like, yo, why is this thing lagging like hell? And I do agree that I sometimes get lag even though I have Gigablast, which gives me, my wonderful, 1,000 megabytes per second. I can download these big games in under like 55 minutes. But at the same time, if I put my location in New Zealand, I'm gonna experience lag. If I have it in the United States, no. So it's like if I have 5G, less unlikely. If I only, go at 10 to 5, down or up, or even like on a hotspot, and yeah, same concept. You get what you can, afford, on your option of availability. Sorry. Legal.
I'm here. I was just checking the sound. It sounds like a little choppy, but we're gonna go on with it anyway. Because you know what? Tonight is all about getting it right. That's what it's all about. We sound a little choppy. I don't know why. Could be mixer. It could be internet problems. It could be 30 frames per second. We don't know. But we do know this. See? You sound pretty good. It's all right.
Almost.
It's all
Sometimes
right.
your streams do sound like that.
Yeah,
Just saying
sometimes
though.
they get like that. Yeah, sometimes they get like that. But here's the thing. You know, there's a such thing as the Hertz locker, right? And the reason why I let T Reaper elaborate on some of this stuff, man, is because he can, first of all. Second, he has a PC and he's invested in the PC market. And and it's funny to him that people would even think that new technology means moving backwards. which is not even the case. You can't move backwards with new technology, people. It's always about getting better. And if you're not about getting better, then there's no reason to put out new tech. So what I wanted to
Yeah.
talk about was the new Hertz locker
And
law.
and it and if
Yeah, go ahead.
if all the wonderful industry customers all they cared about going backwards, we would never have a PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 because they would all just want to sit there and experience the same thing over and over again.
That's
You know,
exactly
if
right, buddy.
customer if customers demand improvement, then that's how industry goes forward, not backwards.
That is so right, brother. That is so right. And we're going to talk about this Hertz locker, man. What did he keep talking? Why did he keep bringing that up? Well, we're going to talk about it, okay? Um, the Series X changes the game with 120 hertz support. It, I'm just saying this now, okay? It is what it is. The Xbox Series X is the first console to support 120 hertz, which is a pretty big deal. Provided you know what a hertz is, simply put, it's a unit of frequency that equals to 1 cycle per second in gaming terms. Hertz is directly tied to frame rate. A television that supports 60 hertz is capable of displaying games at 60 frames per second. While all modern sets support 60 hertz in the past, key word is past. 120 hertz signals have generally only been supported by what? PC monitors. Thankfully, more and more TVs, a bit expensive ones, now support 120 hertz, like the LG's C8 OLED or the Samsung NU8000. That's good news because the Xbox Series X is capable of outputting games at 120 frames per second. While 4K 120 frames per second is probably an unrealistic target for Series X games, don't be surprised if some studios offer 120 frames per second at lower resolutions via Shadow of the Tomb Raider Apron performance modes. So, for anybody who is thinking that in order to get it, that you're going to be able to sustain that high quality visuals is not really realistic, okay? It's not really realistic. In order to sustain it, you're going to have a lot of power. Um, you're going to have a lot of power. And if you don't have a lot of power, you can forget it. It just doesn't work that way, people. So, does Microsoft have a trick up its sleeve? Does it? Mm, y'all can think that, hey man, we're losing our minds. We're just Xbox fans who don't know what we're talking about. Um, you know, we don't know, you know, when we talk about the cloud or we talk about virtual space, that we don't really know what we're talking about. Let me tell y'all something. There's things that are going to help this console. There's things that are going to put this console on a track that will be very non-traditional. You can't pinpoint this console with specs, okay? And by doing so, you fail to realize its true potential. I just told you that unless you have brand new TVs, it's not gonna pretty much work for you. So here, let's go here with the frame game. Okay, T Reaper, let's go with the frame game. The
Mm-hmm.
terminology explained here and why 60 frames per second is the golden target. Now look, man, this is Microsoft telling us this. This is Microsoft telling us that 60 frames per second now is the golden target. Now remember, previously before, it wasn't even a frame rate, it was a visual. The visual was 4K. 4K was the golden target. They wanted to make sure we got close to 4K, hit 4K, but we want to always make sure that we want to stick to the fact of its visuals. And that's what you got from the S and the X. You know, the S and the X was all about visual performance. This time around, it's about both. You're not going to get your visual performance taken away from you, but we want to up the ante in performance, and we want to equalize it. We don't want to no longer be about, well, listen, man, compromise this to compromise that. That is not Phil Spencer's vision for the Xbox Series X. So when we look at this frame game, okay, because there's a lot of frame game going on right now. Let's check it out. Let's explain this technology, right? As you had the good sense to buy this mag, right? We're assuming you have enough love for all things Xbox to grasp the basic concepts. Now listen what Xbox just told me. Because you read us, because you like us, and because you can grasp the basic concepts of frames per second. And if you don't, here's a quick primer. Now listen to that. That is funny that the people in the community of Xbox already understands this. The same thing that me and T-Reaper are talking about tonight, they see it. They get it. They know that there's some people that get it, and they know that there's some people that don't. So that's facts. And even today, when you look on social media, you can clearly see who gets it, and you can clearly see who doesn't. Sadly, some of these people are people of high stature, and they don't get it, T-Reaper. That's the sad
No,
part.
and that's what makes it even That's what makes it even funnier, though.
That's what makes it even funnier. So the frame rate is the frequency at which images appear on screen. The more consecutive images that appear in any given second, the smoother the picture. So in video games, most titles aim for 30 frames per second. In video games.
Especially if it's a story-driven campaign concept.
Facts. That's facts. Yeah, 60 frames per second. That's facts. 60 frames per second is the true gold standard. See, it's the gold standard. Doubling the refresh rate of a game reduces input lag. That's the whole point. And controller latency. Now, what was the new Xbox controller built upon, T-Reaper? What was his number one factor?
Low latency.
Say it again, T-Reaper. Say it
Low
again,
latency.
T-Reaper.
Low latency.
My
Low latency.
goodness. Now, wait a minute, T-Reaper. Have we ever had a controller that was built upon that? Ever?
That wasn't your cell phone? No.
So, T-Reaper, are we moving forward or are we moving backwards? See?
We're making
progress.
moving forward because it's making it more simpler and more easier for the consumer to have what? Fun.
That's right.
It is fun is the purpose of this industry. Not just console fun, wars, people. Not fun, not fanboy BS.
Right.
Just to have fun.
Basic
whether
fun.
You want to have fun, whether you want to have fun trying to find, the fable, soul goal of your character, or you want to go on wonderful Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, or you want to play Fortnite till your heart's content, or you want to enjoy your new Kingdom Hearts refreshers, or your new remasters for your.
We just don't want to limit you.
2.
Right, we just don't want to limit you. We want you to just be,
No, it's all about options in quotes.
That's right.
Options in quotes. Options in quotes. Options in quotes.
The more
power to the player in quotes.
That's right. In video games,
power of availability.
Right. Most titles aim for 30 frames per second. Hint, a lot of storytelling games. Hint, a lot of walking around. Walk through, hold your hand, soap opera games. 30 frames per second, beautiful. But yet the 60 frames per second is the most and the true gold standard. Your first person shooters. Why do you think Destiny was such ridiculed in its day? Because it was a third-person shooter, and it was 30 frames per second. But guess what console it was made for? What console was it made
Sony.
for? Exactly.
Sony.
Exactly. So your best third-person shooter is our worst experience. See what I'm saying? On the Xbox side of things, that's our worst experience. That's not our best experience. It's our worst. But 30 frames per second on your console is your best. Okay? It's just as facts. All right? You can't argue that. That's facts. So, when you're doubling the refresh rate of a game reduces input lag and controller latency, making the on-screen action feel more smoother. Historically, console games have been limited to 60 frames and below, but that's about to change. T-Reaper, what did I just hear? That's about to change with the Series X, thanks to its incredible innards. T-Reaper, the word innards mean something inside this damn thing. There you go.
Inside.
The next-gen console is capable of running games at 120 frames per second, quadruple the refresh rate of 30 frames per second, and Series X games that run at this ultra low latency should feel insanely responsive. So that's the whole point of Xbox Series X. It's about getting your games to run at this ultra low latency and make it feel insanely responsive. That's the definition of Xbox Series X. Now, on top of that, Microsoft has made it clear we can't make nobody utilize what we created for their game. We can't make them do it. We can encourage them. It's almost stupid not to, because when they made this damn console, they basically made it so easy for you to utilize the potentials of it that it's stupid if you don't. So it's not the fact that Assassin's Creed can't make that game higher than 30 frames per second, because the key word was minimum. You do understand that there's some people that will not be able to level up. There's some people that don't have the money. There's some people that just don't have the resources. Minimum 30 frames per second. But for people who have a wallet, for people who have resources, for people who can, make a better purchase decision, people are a little bit more, their pockets a little bit more stretched. They can afford the TV and the HDMIs that's going to give them the capabilities of running games at a higher frame rate. The reason being is because before it was only possible on monitors. Is anybody getting this? So there was no ever wonder why people who were invested in the PC brands, right? While they never worried about frame rate issues. That was my point. But why they always had a settings. Why they could always, well, you know what? I like it here with this visual here. So I'm going to set it right here. I'm going to set the visuals here. And they play their game, as happily as they wanted to play it. Just like T-Reaper said, that's the whole point of the Xbox Series X, and that is the future vision. Is the same kind of happiness, the same kind of espresso feeling that PC gamers had with their builds and their customizations and being able to adjust. That same type of style is coming. And it begins with the Series X. It begins. Now, that's another key word. You can think that we're just sitting here talking off the top of our heads, but it begins with the Series X. It begins with the Series X. I want to make that clear. The future is not about going backwards. The future is about going forward. And when you're going forward, you don't have to worry about going backwards. That is not the key here. The key is forward. So, if this Assassin's Creed comes out to be minimum 30 frames per second, you best believe that when the future hits for that game, it won't be 30 frames per second. You get it? Because the future isn't here yet. The compatibility for the future for the Xbox Series X isn't here yet, but it's coming. And it's not coming in the form of console. It's coming in the form of tech. We already slowly are getting TVs that can implement variable refresh rates. People, this is serious stuff. Plus, you don't want to hear about the Azure Cloud. I'll let T Reaper talk about that one. I'll let T Reaper elaborate on the cloud technology, the virtual aspects where they can actually use power from that and not even touch the GPU or the CPU. The GPU and the CPU will not even be affected by this situation. And that's another thing. If you think we're just playing and talking off the top of our heads, well then listen. Let us laugh again at you later on in the future. That's all we're going to keep doing. But we're not going to play this industry game, emotional rant, feeling type some way because, an article came out that didn't even give you a definite answer, okay? It didn't even give you a definite answer. Until they tell you that the game cannot be played at 60 frames per second, then you got something to talk about. Right now, it's just cool, ain't it? It's cool to just talk about this topic with no valid answer to it. How stupid is that? You're running around in these streets, yapping about 30 frames per second, and you got nothing to show for it. Nothing. The game ain't even out yet. Months and months away. But T Reaper, they're going to tell us that that game is 30 frames per second. And Microsoft is telling us, hey, our baseline minimum is what, T Reaper? What's our baseline minimum
30.
for the X? No. What's our
The,
baseline
the base is 60, minimum is 30. And okay, all right. Now I wanna add a riddle to wonderful New Legal's just explanation right there. Now, if they couldn't do wonderful 60, why on earth would Microsoft say Microsoft gives devs the choice on what frames they can choose if it really was that important for the mandate?
Right.
What on earth it couldn't actually do to let the devs let them do that?
Man, that's right. So the only thing that could actually be taken care of right now that we know that's concrete. Okay, we're gonna go with what's concrete. And listen, forgive us for the cracking. Forgive us if you hear anything and it doesn't sound so clear. Sometimes we can't control it. It's something that we just put up with sometimes. So forgive us. But that doesn't take away the fact of the show. That is not going to take away the fact of my man T Reaper. And you know how we do it, people. We bounce back. If we feel like, hey man, this show didn't give us our due, we're going to come back. And you know we come back. So you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it. We're going to come back. But what I wanted to say was, we know for a fact that this game on the Xbox Series X will not only showcase the beauty and the deepness of this beautiful game, the detailed beauty of this game, the over vast amounts of visuals of this game. It's going to showcase a lot of stuff. Yes, sometimes it is overbearing. Because Assassin's Creed has made it very clear that they wanted to push their games now to the largest scale that they could possibly do it. That's their goal. So it's like now you're trying to tell them that, hey, we don't appreciate your goal. It was okay when 30 frames per second was normal, but because the Xbox Series X has now claimed a standard that puts your console to shame, you've been waiting for something to give it some kind of negative feedback, only to make you feel better. Well, guess what, folks? You have been educated tonight. And let me tell you something. Assassin's Creed will play in 60 frames per second in the future. There's no stopping it. It can be played on PC. It can be played on the Xbox Series X. The only difference is you don't even have to have a monitor to do it. Hint, hint. You just need two things. You need the TV that can support that 120 hertz, and you need that special HDMI. And you're good to go. You're good to go. It's just going to be that simple. The same way PC
There
heads
is,
can. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the next generation is all about option for the player. If you like to
Mm-hmm.
play on the top of a nice little bridge, you will have the ability to do that with your favorite games. If you like to play behind a desk, if you like to play in bed,
Mm-hmm.
if you like to play in front of a television, if you like to play in the middle of your room, same concept.
Mm-hmm. Now, out of respect to the PC community, they will always have advantage on hardcore hardware supply. So there will be some graphic cards that are just going to be more powerful than on the GP side than the Xbox Series X. That's just facts. If you can afford $2,500 for that card, more power to you. If you can do
Yeah.
that, you know,
Th-
more
This
power
is
to you.
this is this is this can be called a casual to a higher echelon hobby for a reason, because it depends on how much your investment is worth to your enjoyment.
Facts. If you want to dig your pockets deep for your enjoyment, you can do that. You can actually do that, and we all know that. But what the Xbox Series X is going to do is going to give you that gold standard and above. Just 120, low 60, and you'll be okay. There's going to be some games that can hit it. There'll be some games that won't. But they're going to say, "Hey, when you make that jump to true next gen, you can kiss their 30 frames per second goodbye." They meant that. But you got to get there. You're not going to be blessed and think that, "Oh, well, Microsoft is just going to do this for me," when the PC's community's been doing it for years. No, if you want to get into this, then you'll see what they had to do to get into this. That's all they're saying. But hey, if you want to get into this, you can too. You don't even have, like T. Reaper said, you don't even have to go buy a PC, because you know what? We just want you to have fun. We want you to have fun where you're at. If you feel comfortable being a console gamer, then damn it, listen, we will give you 60 frames up to 120 frames too. And hey, you can sit here and enjoy your console. There's going to be some games that, hey, might require crossplay. Do you think my Xbox wants people to be playing on a system of theirs that gives them a disadvantage? What does that sound like, T Reaper? Having
Sounds unfair
games
to the consumer.
facts. But how does this sound? Having two platforms under the umbrella, right? Which is Windows 10
Mhm.
PC or Windows PC. Because Windows 10 will be a thing of the past. Past. And so it will be back to Windows PC. But let's just say that for right now. And your Xbox Series X. And they're going to put a crossplay. What does it make it? What does that look like playing on both of their things and one is better than the other one? That makes no sense. And it's all about gaming, though. It's like T. Reaper said. If it's about gaming, then it should never be about one having the better advantage. Not in certain situations, is what I'm saying. In a crossplay situation, why would you want one platform better than the other if it's crossplay, if it's true crossplay? Now, hey, if it's not true crossplay and they're two, three, four distinctive games, and you want a better experience and you're paying your money on the PC to get it, then by God, you got it. You're paying for it. You earn that right because you're paying for it. You earned the right. It only makes sense. But don't dog the Xbox Series X, people, because it's great. Please don't. Don't make fools out of yourselves. Get it together. Don't you have any dignity about yourself? You're out here running around talking about 30 frames per second, and 95% of you guys that are yapping about 30 frames per second are straight casuals. You're making fools out of yourself. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Ain't none of you dudes putting in time on that Halo, putting that time in that Gears, putting that time in that Forza games. Those true 60 frame per second games on Xbox, but yet y'all want to yap about 30 frames per second third party game. But we never see y'all in these Xbox streets. Y'all ain't nowhere to be found. But got a lot of talk on Xbox though. Be talking all day, but ain't nowhere to be found. So what? You're mad because a third party game is really at your favorability? Is really at your expertise? So you're really gonna diss this game because it has a minimum low of 30 frames per second on Xbox Series X? You're talking about it now as if, oh, you're used to playing 60 frames per second games? Come on, man. These peaches, these
Yeah, that
peaches
makes a lot
taste
of
good.
sense, Bill.
Yeah. How does that make sense? Like, who are you fooling? You're not fooling anybody. We come up on here tonight to tell you the truths. We're not coming up on here being mad because we saw some news that didn't
I
give us.
and the
Hmm?
concept of options of play for the consumer means that everybody has the ability to play how they wish and how they can actually safely afford to do that, no matter what scale you choose to pick on, low or
Facts.
high, middle.
It's
Be-
you know what, T Reaper, at the end of the day, right. When the option is given there, now see that's the beautiful thing about options, right? Because when the option is given there, you are exactly right. That's the whole point of listen, okay. Listen, man. Casuals get a bad rap, right? We know this. Okay? But they've
Yeah.
always have in gaming. They've always have. But let's not sit here
Well, I say
and act like
I say gamers in general, actually. It's not
right.
it's not an unknown feeling, everybody. You're not the only ones.
Right. It's levels to this, right? And we're not gonna sit here and act like they don't exist. Okay? It goes like this: beginners, casuals, hardcores, elites, and professionals. Those are the levels of gaming. Just like, when people be like, well, legal, how dare you talk about me? Listen, bro, it's not about talking about you. It's about facts. Let's put it like this, T Reaper. In basketball, there are levels, okay? In baseball, there are levels. Okay, let's start with baseball, for instance.
Minor,
Up,
major.
up, 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 up. Let's even go even further. Let's go further. That's because that is correct. Now let's go further. We got T-ball, where you start out T-ball. Then you got Pee Wee League, and then you get to grade schools. Then you get to what? Junior high. Then you get to high school. And then you go to collegiate. From collegiate, like my man T Reaper says, you go to minor leagues. Then then from the minor leagues, you go, which is AAA, then you can go professional. So there's levels. In basketball, the same thing. You can go through the Pee Wee leagues, the YMCA leagues, the city leagues, and then you go into your schools, and then from your schools to your collegiate. Well, no, I'm sorry. Even when you're in your schools, then you can go to AAU camps. You go to your summer programs, and then you're in schools, and you go to college, and then from college you can go to the pros. There's all levels. Now, everybody doesn't make it to the pros. Doesn't mean that everybody is garbage. That's the beautiful thing because gaming is considered a sport. Hey man, there are some people that play games that are pros at it. They're just not getting paid. You feel me? There are people who play basketball at a professional level. They're just not making millions off of it. Get it? So listen, we're not just totally dissing casuals as if casuals don't mean anything in gaming. The only problem we have about you casuals is that you act like you have a real good position in another dimension of talk. Like when you put yourself in 60 frames per second talk on a console that has never given you a 60 frame per second lineage. Why are you talking? Why are you trying to diss something that does better than what
If you,
you've done?
if you, well, why are you trying to diss something if you don't actually comprehend how it works? You don't even know what you're dissing.
I've never now that one gets me right there. That one's hilarious, T Reaper, because we see a lot of that. We see a lot of that one, brother. People just dissing stuff and don't even know what the hell they dissing. You know,
I mean, yeah.
it's
I
like
mean,
you
it's
can
one
write a
thing if you,
sentence,
I mean,
and as soon as
and
it
I
has
can tell, and
Xbox
I
in
can,
it, now they ready to diss it. They'll read that whole sentence until you put Xbox in there, and they will be quiet. But as soon as you say Xbox, they dissing it.
yeah. I mean, and I can understand if you weren't brought up on that side of gaming to understand what that actually
Mm-hmm.
means and in what it actually implies. But you know, there are people who do. So if we get into a nice little conversation on Twitter and I'm implying something completely different on a different genre, and you're like, "Oh, I play all day," and I'm like,
Right.
"Yeah, it's not the same thing.
Right.
It's a different
That's
genre
facts.
of occupation of interest. Every
That's
gamer has their own
exactly right.
interests.
That's
You can
right.
sit all day on indies, you can sit all day on RPGs, you
Mm-hmm.
can sit all day on shooters, and you can sit all day on Telltale games. You know,
Mm-hmm.
everybody has their own preference. But, you know, there are different classes. And
Right.
from the very beginning of arcade to the wonderful, you know, solo PC to console to the wonderful 90s fraction of online separation to single player to online. And remember, everybody that wished to do the opposite, don't complain what that you can't do the actual opposite now that you wished you would have done so long ago. It's going to take time to actually get back to what you actually thought you actually wanted.
That's right. And also,
So,
man, you're right. I mean, everything you just said was correct. The funny part about it, man, is you said something tonight that resonates, right? And it's basically stay in your lane. Listen, if you play indie games, be the best one out there. Talk about them. Represent it. Because you know, at the end of the day, that's what you're going to be respected for. Now, if you
yeah.
play indie games, and then you want to come over here and start bad mouthing those who play multiplayer games, go sit down. Get back in your corner. Because you have no business talking about an area that you don't affiliate yourself with. That's the difference. Like, don't say you're this gamer, and then I come to find out that all you play is indie games. Now, hey, you're validated, but you're dissing me,
Yeah.
and we don't sit at the same table. So there it goes back to what T. Reaper was saying. You're dissing something you don't even know what you're talking about. Now, a proper diss would be, you see that I play indie games, and you play indie games, but I'm out here fronting like I play all these indie games, and you find out, man, you only play a couple indie games. Shut up. You got a right to say that to me. Man, stop fronting out here. You don't even play these indie games like that. Yeah, you do, but you don't. You got a reason. But you can't, there's dimensions. So you can't just warp zone over into the multiplayer dimension and then badmouth people who play multiplayer, and we come to find out you're only an indie player. You're only an indie player. Like it doesn't even, the two don't sit at the same table.
It's
The
not
two
it's not on the
experiences are
same
totally
it's not on the
different.
same bracket.
Right. Not even on
On
the
the same
same
bracket. And
bracket.
this is all electronic, you know, all electronic digital art. So imagine how the developer feels, you know, they make something for the consumer, you know, art that, you know, the wonderful public enjoys and loves to, you know, experience, whether it's behind a script or behind a lobby. And, you know, the consumer's like, oh, why didn't you do it this way? You know, it kind of like a slap in the face. Imagine you
Right.
cleaned your kitchen for your wife, and then she came up like,
Right.
yo, why isn't the floor mopped? Why isn't, you
Right.
know,
Why
bathroom
didn't you pick
swept?
up the exactly? Like,
So that's called procrastination and complaining, not actually
right.
doing anything useful and improving the situation for the developers who are now confused. Wait, you said this, now we give you this, and you don't want
And then
this?
you
You
still
know, it's
complain.
just like,
Right. That's exactly right.
uh,
It's to a point where these devs are just like they don't know what to go. Like you listen, a dev should have the right to make the game how they feel, right? Now, you the way you go about it on a mature way, if you don't like the game, don't buy it. The immature way
Yeah.
of handling it is to go on social media and bash devs. Like, do you realize that devs are part of our gaming culture? They're like, you don't have games
The
without them.
what?
Right,
Yeah, you don't.
right. You don't have games
Well,
without
I,
these
I,
these
I
these
would, I
these
would
guys and
nicely,
girls,
I would like nicely to point out
these
you
women
wouldn't
and men.
have any. I would nicely point out you wouldn't have Xbox if it wasn't for Mr. Dr. Phil. But that's
That's true.
if they actually knew what he was responsible for making.
That's true.
So,
You know.
I think that we've come a long way. And then, you get, newcomers or, people who don't, understand gaming just yet. Maybe they're new to the scene. Maybe they just picked up the hobby, but they don't understand how old some of us are, and some things that you had to take for granted in gaming now weren't there when people like me and legal actually, first were introduced to it, or
Right.
before state points.
Right. That's right. That's facts.
And save files and memory
That's
cards
right. And all that stuff. Before all of
and
that, man.
color and
Facts.
color.
Facts. Because there was times, man, where I was right there on the tail end, like, man, I'm not playing this game in black and white no more. I'm not playing this game because that was the days when you went over people's homes and you saw the reality that, hey, man, I'm a little bit more blessed, or some people are just doing the best they can, and that's when
Yeah,
I
but
knew.
but that was also during the time where this was really, really needed because the first wave hit, the world massively hard, and you had to basically do something to save, the culture to make sure they didn't go absolutely crazy inside or out.
That's right.
So, and you had Xbox Live, they had tried it a couple times before, and the only place that it actually existed was on Windows, and they wanted to bring it to the living room. And what do we have, about 25 years later? Here we go. So I was like, it's a development evolution process in any industry, It could be McDonald's, it could be Burger King, One
That's
time ago,
facts.
one time ago, Sonic didn't exist, But at the
That's
same
right.
time, you can't really, if you don't know how something began, you can't automatically assume without clarification, because then that just makes you look unintelligent and uneducated as well.
You know what? Speak on it, man. Speak on it. And so, we just want people to, we want you to understand that. Listen, man, it's fun to listen to these gaming articles. It's fun. But if it's not, and I don't know why I have to keep saying this. I mean, it's sad, man, that I have to keep saying this. Okay, but like the old folks say, man, down south, for the umpteenth time. If we gotta say it for the umpteenth time, we're gonna say it for the umpteenth time. If if you don't hear Xbox or Microsoft say it, please, people, please don't believe what you hear until you hear it from Microsoft. If you don't hear it from them, then damn it, take it with a grain of salt. Listen, the devs for the new Assassin's Creed game have not confirmed that the game cannot be played at 60 frames per second. They have not confirmed that yet, which only leads to, hey, be quiet and wait for the end result. Now, I'm pretty sure that the end result is going to speak for itself, T Reaper. If this game is going to be 30 frames per second locked on Xbox Series X as a third party game, where one, Xbox has no power and control over it. They can't make nobody make a game in 60 frames per second. So if this game is going to be like that, we know automatically, right, that this game is going to be one of the most beautiful games ever created in gaming history. Until something more powerful than on console. Let me just put it like that. On console, until something bigger and better comes out on console that can beat it. Because we know by the standards of gaming that when you go with lower frame rates, regardless, so if you go with lower frame rates, the visuals are going to not suffer. We know this because that's 101 gaming 101. That's just the way it is. It's just if you don't know that's not our fault. But if this game can somehow reach 60 frames per second, there's a slight chance that it could suffer a little bit. But watch this. With the new technology, with that new technology, and if you have that new brand new spanking TV that holds that new technology, you're not going to really be disappointed because the little bit of the disadvantage in visuals is not going to really make a bit of difference. It really isn't. And that's going to be the beautiful thing about it. Once people start to realize that, they're going to really say, damn, Microsoft really did it, man. They really did it. And I believe more than ever now that when things like this happen, it's only going to make things better. It's only going to make things better, man. I mean, it
It's
can't
all
get
about the
worse.
improvement of the culture. It's all
Right.
about the improvement of the culture in general.
It's not gonna exactly. The culture has to change. Which it probably won't. Okay, it probably won't. These outlets, they thrive on your stupidity. Once they realize that they can market your stupidity, it was a wrap. It was a wrap after that. No more common sense. The dumber the situation, the more views I'm gonna get, and that's just the way we are right now, man. The real has yet to be seen. And so, guys, listen, we did what we could do tonight, but no emotional throwback, no temper tantrums, no, you know, being confused about what's going on. We're just going to give it to you straight, raw, and uncut. Hey, man, as gamers should, in a calm state, full of laughter. If we showed any emotion tonight, it was pure laughter. Pure laughter. If we are guilty, it was because we laughed. So we laughed. We're guilty. And listen, people, you guys have a good night.
I
T
think,
Reaper,
yeah, it's
you
the
have
laughter
anything to say, man?
is also. No, I just want to say thank you for doing this
Hmm.
tonight. I had fun. I want to again thank everybody for who has supported me and my new platform on Instagram. I am having too much fun actually not to really enjoy this now because now I'm on I'm on vacation time now, but I'm also having too much fun doing my other stuff as well. So it's this is gonna get really fun really fast for me. But I'm happy to actually be going outside again. My God, sucks to be inside when you don't actually have to be inside anymore.
Yeah, I'm glad you're going outside, man. I'm glad you're coming outside. Tell the people, man, where they can find you at, T Reaper.
You guys can find me on Instagram. You guys know me where I am on Twitter. And I will only post things on YouTube now if I have like a double message to send. So it's most likely you'll see all my art on Instagram now. So that's where all it is
Cool,
now.
man.
I actually am about to go over 2,400, so it's actually really cool. I owe a lot
Nice,
to all
man.
the
That's
support.
nice. Yeah, man. Yeah,
So
man.
it's a lot different to like edit and stuff like that. So, but I've been pitying the people that worship hours and hours of editing. Because trust me, I've been there. It sucks.
Right. Exactly, man.
But the end result, as long as you make your fan base happy and they're enjoying it, that's the concept of enjoyment. You're happy. You're not
That's
tense. You're not
facts.
stressed. It's all about fun and you know taking yourself out of the stress of the world that we all live in, especially in these times.
That's
That's
the
where
whole point
gaming
of
comes
video
in.
games. That's right. That's where gaming comes in at. And that's the special beauty of it. And guys, listen, man. Y'all know where to find me at. It's the new legal, man. I'm always representing Di-RREC Gaming. Um, Thank y'all for coming out to check us out, man. Like I said, we needed a little laugh. Me and T Reaper, we just needed a little laugh, man. I always thank him for just reaching out to me. It's almost at the point where now I can feel him when he wants to do a show. I can hit him up. You know it's time. Let's go in and we do what we do, man. It's just what it is. We listen to everybody else out there that gets it. We're with you. We we're right there with you. Hold on tight. You know where to go. That's all I'm gonna say. You heard it in the. I read it out to you. Okay. There was a special mag. Okay. Now everybody has it. Okay. But these people went in. They saw the capabilities. Remember this, people. It's the innards of the Xbox Series X. And that innard goes all the way to the soul of it. Remember, the maker, one of the makers of the Xbox Series X said, it's the features that are the soul of this console. Not the overall design, but what it can do. It's the ghost in the shell.
It's the abilities the device has.
That's right. It's going to be coming down to the abilities, people. So don't get caught up. Remember, T. Reaper and I told you this. Don't get caught up in number specs, because those number specs are going to deceive you. There's things that do not require number specs, okay? And you will begin to see that. This is why I said next generation is going to separate the lions from the cubs, wolves from the werewolves, cows from the water buffaloes, grass snake from the anacondas. What else?
Vampires from the swans.
There you go. Pussycats from the tigers. Chickens from the eagles. Little Debbies. No, not little Debbies. No, they're little Debbies from the wedding cakes. Let me see. Not tadpoles from the bullfrogs. Catfish from the great whites. And y'all
Big Mac to a double quarter pounder.
There you go. Then you know where we're going with this, right? So you're either you listen, y'all. If you can't invest, you'll be left out with.
Don't start, please.
That's right. But Microsoft is so beautiful, right? When it comes to
they're gonna have
someone
you for everything. For everybody. Go. Everybody will be able to have fun.
Yes.
That's the whole concept from
you may not be able
goal.
to move as fast as me. You may not be. You may not be able to move as fast as me. But let me tell you something. It's not going to be their fault. Listen, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I could get on Gears 5, right? And as good as I am on Gears 5, I can go on that multiplayer, man. They don't care that I'm good. Listen, there's some kid out there with a high-powered NPC. You'll see him a mile away. Trust me when I say this. You will see him a mile away. You will pull your gun out and you'll say, nah, bro. And you'll start shooting at this guy. This guy will perform some miraculous moves. And he'll get through those bullets. And he'll get right up on you. And you'll be like, damn, I shot this dude. Why am I not hurting him? And that's all I got to say. When you invest in your hobby, you move up. You are not part of the norm. When you don't move up, you're part of the norm. And let me tell you something. Normal is cool in gaming. But normal is not defining the future. That's what me and T Reaper are saying. Normal is not defining the future. So the 30 frames per second.
Norm does not define evolution.
No.
Or enhancement in technology.
That's right. The Valhalla, is that what it's called?
Yeah, Valhalla.
Valhalla. That's right.
Which,
Valhalla.
Yeah.
Which
does look just fine to me. I do not have an issue to what that actually looks like. That looks pretty entertaining to me. I was actually listening to someone's Beowulf suggestion the other day. That was actually very true. That movie was actually really, really good.
Oh man, Beowulf was nice. I have the movie, man. The blue. I remember when it came out on blue. I had to have it, bro. It actually had Angelina Jolie, man, in that bad boy.
Yeah.
Bro. It was raw. That movie was raw, bro.
Yeah, it was raw.
But listen, I'm not. That's right.
And that was old enough to basically when they first started doing animation.
Yeah, listen, Beowulf is an old character. like when you think about comics and fictional characters like that, it's old. It goes all the way back. You're right, to like to the origins of vampires and all that stuff. Like people don't understand like the werewolf concept. It's got a European. Listen, the history, the expansion of the history on that subject right there. It's deeper than just the Viking
Nordic.
history. Right, it's deeper than that. Like it went beyond that. And listen, I'm not a diehard fan of the Thors and the Odins, but I was a Marvel comic fan, and I used to love reading about Asgard and all that stuff. But I don't care about Viking history like that. I don't really care, but I always liked their concepts of their fairy tales. I always liked it because it was always about power. It was always about power, and those guys, those Vikings, they wasn't small people, man. They were very strong in stature. They were very masculine. They were strong featured men. And that those were the things. And when you saw their armor, it was almost as if like the Spartans back in their day. But the Spartans had that athletic look. But their armor, their helmets struck fear in their opponents. Same thing with the Vikings, because the reason why it was so hard to defeat them, because they were one of the first people that settled in some of the harshest conditions north. And listen, when you see a man walking around with a polar bear jacket, a coat around him, bro, like polar bear, bro, you're like, yo, I'm not even. If this dude sat up here and killed the polar bear, bro, and he's walking around with the fur, yeah, let's head back. This dude's crazy. You know what I'm saying? He's big. They had them horns, man. Come on, bro. They wasn't
You
like
know
they
what?
wasn't punks.
You know what
And
would
they
be a,
made the
you know
axe.
what would be a
They put the
yeah.
axe
You
on
know
the
what would
map.
actually you know what would be a really good combo? You put the Assassin's Creed Valhalla with God of War. See what happens.
Exactly. Exactly.
Same concept, everybody. Same concept,
You
everybody.
can't, and you want to know what's funny?
Just a little
There you
bit.
go.
God of
You
War is a little bit older. That's the only difference.
and you want to know something? This game blows God of War's graphics to hell, like to little shits, man. Like it's not even. Look, man, listen. That's a whole nother story, right? Because we're on the conclusion part. I know it. We drug it out. We're still on the conclusion of this show. But when you think about how this game looks, man, and you know that it's on another level, you just know it. That's what's making people. That's the deepness of the feelings, right? Because they know it's just hard because it's Assassin's Creed and it grew on you and it's hard to accept it. But here's the thing. Microsoft said what they said. Okay? And I can't get mad at anybody, T Reaper, that holds Microsoft accountable for what they say about their creations. They said that this thing is supposed to be next generation. They said that this thing is going to give us new experiences. Now listen. They don't understand, T Reaper, that when Microsoft says for them 30 frames per second is a thing of the past, they don't get that. What they're saying is what we control won't happen. Whatever Microsoft controls won't be no 30 frames per second there. Now, here's my thing, and we're going to conclude with this one. This is why I, the new legal, think it's very important, more than ever, for Microsoft to start owning new IPs and exclusives. Because this is going to be the only reason, T Reaper, and the only way that they can show and prove that they are who they say they are. It's at that time. You can no longer sell free for alls and hey, happy Mary Poppins lands. Listen, the industry, and I know that Microsoft's getting tired of hearing this. It's not ready for that. Well, it keeps telling you that. So Microsoft, listen, it's okay because we get it. People like me and T, we get you. We understand. You got a good concept with the xCloud. That's one way of expanding. You got a good concept with crossplay. That's one good reason to expand. But here's the thing. When you have greatness such as you, and you have that pocket such as you, and you pride yourself on expertise and brains and intelligence and smartfulness and thoughtfulness, when you are a company built on that, I don't believe that you, Microsoft, is willing to let people remain ignorant. You have a responsibility, right? You're bigger than gaming, so you have a responsibility to educate. Because Microsoft, one thing about you is you've always been the business. You are the business that makes other businesses better. And listen, you made AMD great. This go around, look how you made AMD look. You made AMD look so good, and we applaud you because your engineers coexisted with their engineers, and you did something great. AMD hit new heights that they've never hit in the history of their lifetime. That's Microsoft. So Microsoft, I don't think that you sit back and enjoy people being ignorant about you. The only way you're going to make these people see your true identity, me and T Reaper, we're hoping for the day. We're looking for this one now. This is one little uncertainty that me and T Reaper has. But we do know that Microsoft does not like ignorance. Get ready, people. You're hearing it tonight from the new legal. While all of this drama is being built up, just be ready for the ultimate smackdown. It's coming. And boy, is it coming because you built it up. You did exactly what Microsoft knew you was going to do. Being ignorant, and then you went nuts. You gaming industry and you haters. Now, is it something that Microsoft just plays into and just, no they don't. They really don't like it. They can't stand the toxic energy. They don't like that. That's not how this company was built, okay? But in a sense, they do have a responsibility to educate you. So since you ignore them, you don't listen to what they say, no matter what happens, no matter what gets posted on social media, so your eyes will not deceive you in the next few couple of days when these bombs hit. And then when these bombs hit next month, and the bombs hit next month, you played right into it, and now you just made the Xbox Series X more stronger looking, better looking. You're talking about it again. And now, do you not think that Xbox don't have these games? Do you not think that? Xbox got these games. That's their bombs are about to do. The reason why these third parties had to come was to stamp the fact that we got the support. That was what that was about. People, we got the support. But that wasn't good enough for y'all because you wanted your worst fears to be shown to you. And now that your worst fears hadn't been shown to you, you think it's not coming. But I'm here to tell you tonight, it's coming. Xbox gonna have them games. 60 frames per second and above games like that. They gonna have them first parties, T Reaper. Boy, are they gonna have those first parties. We're gonna have those new IPs. And you wanna know something else? I'm going on record right now. You'll hear it live and direct. That price is gonna be glorious, brother. My words. I'm going with the prediction right now. You ready to hear this one? I'm going with it, man. I can't help it. Let's just make it interesting. I'm going to go ahead and say T Reaper, I'm going for the kill, man. I'm just going for the kill. Let me just, all right, listen. It's not a perfect world, right? So let me stretch it. I'm going to say this. From $3.99 to $4.99, brother, and it's a wrap. That's my scale. Between $3.99 and $4.99 is the price. We're coming with these games. Future is here. 60 frames per second is real. And that's it. I'm done. You guys? and girls, y'all have a good night, okay? We'll be seeing y'all soon. We're not too far. We're just right around the corner. We're going to go to bed. We're going to wake up and look at all the rest of the stuff around here. And me and T-Rip are going to do what we always do, and that's laugh. In the meantime, all the real Xbox gamers out there, salute. All the real gamers out there, salute. Mixer team, Twitter team, Facebook team, Instagram team, salute. Di-RREC Gaming, salute. The new legal, salute you. And we're out of here. See y'all next time.